Okay, I think we're good. Is my puffy eye less puffy than usual? I don't know. Saw a review on social media, commented that I have a puffy eye. Yes, I do. Thank you for the reminder. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. I brought it up with my rheumatologist at my last appointment with him, and I have no idea. I don't know if it's the medications doing it. I don't know if it's allergies. I don't know if it's my autoimmune disease itself. I have no idea why only one of my eyes is noticeably more puffy than the other one. And maybe with the lighting and the way it is, maybe you don't even notice it, and I'm just drawing attention to it for no reason now. I have stickers for sale. The Wandering Wordsmith sticker, the Struggling Well sticker, along with my 2 books and my Struggling Well coffee mug. They are for sale at thomasmarkz.store. So yeah, I'm gonna be referencing this little guy in the video today. Sorry, this guy. So if you want to order this book, links will be in the description if you want to check out my book. I'd love to send one your way. And now to the regularly scheduled program about why you need to leave. Or maybe not, maybe stay. This little word, leave, it's a 5-letter word that has so much power in my life, maybe in your life too, listening, because I think one of the big conundrums, one of the big decision makers I've been facing as an adult, not just once, not just twice, but it seems like 7, 8, 9, 10 times, no joke, over the last decade and a half, has been the concept of leaving versus staying. Do I continue on with something somewhere, or do I stop? Do I turn around? Do I go somewhere else and pursue another thing? You know, things are so much simpler when you're in high school, when you're in middle school, even when you're in college to an extent. You're on a track and you follow that track for several years. Obviously, you have to make decisions about what classes you're going to take or what you're studying or what your career ambitions are going to be. But man, for those that know my story, I've been on both sides of this country for years at a time, and that's a toughie, figuring out when to stay, when to leave. I'm going to bring out this guy, which if you followed my story for a while, you know how much of this book means to me. Through Painted Deserts by Donald Miller. It was his first book. It originally went by another name, but it's my favorite book of all time. I've read it cover to cover, I think at least 5 or 6 times. And I don't reread books often. I know there are plenty of people who reread books and get enjoyment out of that. For the most part, I don't. I'll read a book once and I'm kind of good to go. You know, like I don't need to reread the whole thing. I might go back and reference a book, sure, but reading it again doesn't really bring me any pleasure for the most part. But not so with this one, and I'm kind of due, I think, for another reread actually. But I referenced this book quite a few times in this book, so much so that I actually like to consider Through Painted Deserts, or TBD. I like to reference TBD in Running 2 almost as a minor character that just pops up. You know, it's heavily featured in the beginning and it pops up again throughout the book. And from the Grand Canyon to North Carolina, it manifests in this book. Do you hear that annoying bird now? So quick backstory, I first came across this book in 2010. I was living at my parents' house in Georgia, completely miserable, lonely, purposeless, working in retail. After I graduated college, I was 23 years old. I had no idea where my life was going and what this was all about. Like, everything made so much sense when I was in school. All I knew is that I wanted to write. That was literally all I knew. I had no idea what that would mean for the rest of my life, where that would take me. I was very stuck in some very significant ways. Came across this book, which is all about Donald Miller and his friend Paul hitting the road, going all over the country, and all the wonders, all the experiences, all the spiritual insights that happened upon him along the way. And the very beginning of the book starts with an author's note, you know, way after the fact, where Donald Miller's sitting in a coffee shop in Portland, Oregon, and he's talking about what it meant for him to leave. He grew up in Texas, and his leave, you know, from the road trip on, eventually took him to Portland, a completely different world away. With the leaves changing, you know, it's the time of seasons. It just felt really appropriate to record this video here in early November as all that is happening, which is a great parallel for change happening in our lives. Don, his friends call him Don. Don says this: I could not have known that everybody, every person has to leave, has to change like seasons. They have to, or they die. The seasons remind me that I must keep changing, and I want to change because it is God's way. All my life I have been changing. I changed from a baby to a child, from soft toys to play daggers. I changed into a teenager to drive a car, into a worker to spend some money. I will change into a husband to love a woman, into a father to love a child. Change houses so we're near water, and again so we are near mountains, and again so we are near friends. Keep changing with my wife, getting our love so it dies and gets born again and again, like a garden, fed by 4 seasons, a cycle of change. Everybody has to change or they expire. Everybody has to leave. Everybody has to leave their home and come back so they can love it again for all new reasons. I want to keep my soul fertile for the changes, so things keep getting born in me, so things keep dying when it is time for things to die. I want to keep walking away from the person I was a moment ago because a mind was made to figure things out, not to read the same page recurrently. And just reading that again, I haven't picked up this book and tangibly read the words in quite some time, probably a few years now. Gosh, it sweeps me back to that concept of change and the dramatic change that I would take by leaving home. I'd lived with my parents for 23 years, the first 23 years of my life, save some months at a time studying abroad and at a Christian college one year. But for the most part, a very safe existence, and didn't really venture out a whole lot. So when I was pondering moving to California, 3,000 miles away, no small feat for an introverted, safe kid like me, reading something like that was so powerful because, to be quite honest, I hated where I lived. I never gravitated toward Georgia for the 11 years that I lived there. It never felt like home. It always felt like an alien environment. And so it was really powerful to read these words about leaving and to experience a new place, to go somewhere else. And then real quick to tie up the author's note, Don Miller, he ends with this, and this is the part that I've quoted in books and blogs so many times, and now I'm quoting it again in this YouTube video. But this is ultimately what convinced me, what prompted me to pull the trigger, or to press on the gas pedal, maybe is a more appropriate metaphor. Don says this: we get one story, you and I, and one story alone. God has established the elements, the setting and the climax and the resolution. It would be a crime not to venture out, wouldn't it? It might be time for you to go. It might be time to change, to shine out. I want to repeat one word for you: leave. Roll the word around on your tongue for a bit. It is a beautiful word, isn't it? So strong and forceful, the way you have always wanted to be. And you will not be alone. You have never been alone. Don't worry. Everything will still be here when you get back. It is you who will have changed. And I don't know if y'all can see the chills going all over my body, but yeah, it's my favorite book, and that's not even like part of the book. Like it's in the author's note, but that's by far like my favorite part of the book, the part that I've read and reread more than 5 or 6 times. The way that I've rolled that, like physically rolled that word around on my tongue, leave. I can't tell you how many times that phrase has come up. Every time I'm making these major decisions, because I've lived, again, coast to coast, California to North Carolina, with a massive 9-month road trip in between. And there was a while where I wore that word leave as a badge of honor. Like, look at me, I have so much courage to leave across the country and go to California, to leave not just 1, but 2 summer camp excursions at various places across the country, those 2 summers after that. And I kind of had this addiction kind of to the change, to constantly be changing my scenery, changing the people around me, seeking new adventures, new life experiences, and not feeling like I'm stuck anymore. Because again, for 23 years, I had felt pretty stuck. And it wasn't really until after living in California for 3 years, this would have been 2013, I was really debating leaving again. I was having a hard time making friends and finding a church and feeling any kind of rootedness. I was doing a lot of tutoring work, just kind of making ends meet, nothing stable at all. And was feeling just feeling the drain of it and wanting something new, something fresh, something dynamic. And once again, that word leave, it had hit me so many times over the last few years, and I just felt utterly convinced that it was time to do it again. It's time to summon up the courage and hit the road again and go somewhere else, go somewhere new. There's another word that has an equal power to it. Not a greater power, not a lesser power, but just as equal of a power, and that word is stay. Hillsong United actually at the time put out an incredible album, Zion. I think it's my favorite album they've ever done. So definitely check out Zion. I'll put that link as well in the description. But there's a song in Zion, probably my favorite on the album, called Stay and Wait. It was very fitting. God speaks to me a lot through music, through song, introducing songs at just the right juncture that I need to hear something. And it's happened so many times, and maybe most prominently with 2013 and my decision to ultimately stay in California for not forever, but just a bit longer. As I mentioned, I was having a hard time just finding friends and feeling connection, feeling rooted, and finding a place of belonging in Southern California. Tempted to leave, but hearing this song, Stay and Wait, the chorus goes like this: I will stay. Actually, I will wait until all of this nonsense outside my window goes away. I will stay, should the world by me fold. Lift up your name as the darkness falls. I will wait and hold fast to your word, heart on your heart and my eyes on yours. Again, sweeping chills as I read those lyrics. I was actually listening to the song just prior to recording this. It brings a little tear to my eye, honestly, because it's hard to stay. Maybe it's easier for others. I think we're all kind of wired two ways. We're either like, some of us love being at home, would consider ourselves home buddies. They just want to snuggle up with a blanket and a warm cocoa and watch Netflix for the whole night, day after day. And that certainly has its place in my heart, for sure. But I think given one choice or the other, am I a home buddy or a wanderer? It's a clear case for me that I just love. I love the spontaneity. I love the adventure. I love constantly seeing new things and putting new things into my life experience bucket. And to me, that is healthy, and it feels like growth. It feels like spurring all the wild and wonderful things inside of me, particularly as it pertains to my masculinity too. Like, I just honestly feel more of a man when I'm out on the road or out hiking a trail in a national park or exploring a new city for the first time, exploring local coffee shops and staying home, staying behind, not going, not leaving. That isn't exciting to me. It isn't inherently something I'm drawn to. And I've recognized these last few years of my life the importance of having both. Having a healthy perspective of leaving, but also having a healthy perspective of staying. In 2013, God eventually, it took a while, but he settled it on my heart that I needed to stay. And I'm so glad I did, because I went to a local summer camp that year instead of one many states away. Was able to build more connections with my church and with my city. And it was truly a magical year. And I'm so grateful I was able to experience the things that I did because I was willing to stay, even though it felt incredibly dark, incredibly hopeless at times. And the reason I bring all this up is actually, as the leaves are changing, I was inspired to talk about this, but it was only confirmed when one of my followers actually reached out and said that he was, reading my book, and when he got to the part about leave, he kind of thought that was an impetus for him to leave home and to set out. And that's just so encouraging to me. Obviously, everyone has their life to live and their decisions to make, and I'm not going to pretend that my words and my story are the reason why you watching should leave home right now, right this instant, and go. But I think it's something to always consider. Like, are you right where you're supposed to be? Is there something more for you? Finding that balance between what is a safe life and what is a risky life, and making sure you have adequate elements of both. Because I've been now staying in Asheville off and on for almost 5 years now. There have been some trips, let's just say. But I'm learning to stay here and build relationships and connections and a sense of belonging here. And it's a long, slow process. It takes a while for me to feel connected and rooted somewhere. So I'm learning the power of stay. But I also want to learn the power of leave too. I would challenge anyone listening, if you feel like you have too much of one or the other, too much of leave, too much of stay, consider what it would look like to maybe even the ratio out a little bit. For me, it's looked like taking regular trips during non-COVID times. I would always be booking a trip 2 or 3 months in advance and having that on the calendar, something to always look forward to, a leaving. And then it really is a sweet thing to have a home and to have an incredible home like I have here now the sense of opening that door and setting down your things, and that exhale out after leaving to come home and then to stay is an incredible feeling. And I want to experience more of that. And I want everyone watching to experience more of that too. The comfort and the thrill of both leaving and staying. So I'd be curious, I'd love to hear your story. What was your most significant leave? When did you leave home? When did you leave for an opportunity, for a job, for school? And what was that? What was that like? And then also on the flip side, what was your biggest stay? What was maybe you were tempted to leave or abandon ship, but you stayed and you're so glad you did. I'd love to hear those stories in the comments below. As well, give me a follow. If you enjoy these videos, you can like this video and subscribe to notifications, and follow me on all the socials at ThomasMarkZ. I hope, whether you leave or stay, I hope you come back for another video, as I'll be back very soon. Much love, friends.